Hi everyone, welcome. Sorry I haven't been here for a few weeks, but I have been commissioned to do another book for a very dear friend called Tony King, and he wants me, and we've been working on his biography, and I was really tired. I'm getting used to it, so here I am. And can we just check that my audio is working? Please, everyone. Testing, testing. Hello. I'm well, Verpy. I've been very, 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 very busy. So you heard me, Jenny. Yeah, loud and clear. Good, thanks, Tim. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I have an interesting subject I want to talk to you about, and tonight, and it's about many years ago I did some artwork, panels, 7-foot panels, 12 of them, well actually 13 of them, for a ballet called The Labor of Hercules. And it's basically stories of the path of a disciple through life and the qualities and challenges that you get as you're doing that, particularly when you want to touch your soul and manifest it here on this planet. Good evening, Andy Cooney. So I'm only going to talk about 4 of them because there are 12 panels. And I'm waiting for the thing to go round so that we start at the beginning. Hang on, we're almost there. It was for the Lucis Trust that I also made the mask for the ballet. And here is me. As you can see, there are these white panels, and they were 7 foot, and each side had one of the astrological signs, and they talked about the particular journey that Hercules did in each one of them, and they could turn them all around and use them as white background. So this first one is called Aries. That's the first one that Hercules goes on, and I will read the story, bedtime story. So, for the first of his labors, Hercules is instructed to capture wild horses in the land of Diomedes, son of the god of war. So evil and destructive have they become that they are killing all of whom they encounter and devastating the land. Hercules, confident that he can capture them, enlists the help of his friend Abderus. Together and with careful planning, they successfully corner and tether the beasts. With delight on his own prowess, Hercules leaves his friend to finish the task of driving the horses through the final gate. Fearful and unable to control the terrifying beasts, Abderus falls victim to them and is killed. The horses, escaping to continue their rampages against the populace. Grief-stricken but wiser Hercules must repeat the task, his eventual success being purchased at the great price of his initial failure. So basically, Aries, being the first sign of the zodiac, a sign of beginnings and cosmically speaking, the sign of creation. All beginnings start in the mind of the creator, whether it is God or the soul of man. Aries starts on the path which form is taken and dominates, and likewise on which begins the life of inner unfoldment of the subjective being. Reorganization, reorientation, and regeneration characterize this sign. Each of these characteristics depends upon the state of the mind, divine or human, with the same force impelling this journey, but with this force either being preoccupied with form or with being focused on treading the path of liberation. So basically, the mind-killing horses is about those crazy things that are going on in your head all the time. That's the first thing on your path to reach ultimate self-realization, so that you can then go on and help mankind, being a peaceful, radiant human beings. You need to conquer them. And that's what this particular sign represents relative to esoteric teachings that I have studied. So that task of looking at all those crazy thoughts and getting stillness and you controlling them is the first step. So we'll go on to the next one, which is Taurus. And Taurus is a very interesting one. It will come up in just a second. If you'll be patient, Ginger one. Here she comes. And that one is the capture of the Cretan bull. Very, very important aspect. So, alone and still filled with deep distress, Hercules must rescue the sacred bull from its intended sacrifice to Minos, king of Crete, and deliver it to the mainland where dwell the one-eyed men. On the island where the bull is captive is a vast maze which can lure the adventurous to their bewilderment. Here, following the gleaming star shining from its forehead on the bull, Hercules pursues the bull from place to place. Single-handed, he captures it and rides it like a horse through the waters to the mainland, surrounded by the 7 sisters. He leads it to the holy place and delivers it safely to its chief guardians, the 3 one-eyed Cyclops. The second labor deals with the potent world of desire and leads the disciple to an understanding of the great law of attraction. The lesson concerns the nature of desire and its transmutation into aspiration, and the right use of sex and the law that governs that magnificent force. So, yet again, our Hercules has a task. So the second task would be learning to control and manifest the law of attraction of your higher spirit as opposed to the lower aspects of the personality. And it's quite a very strong force once you know how to control it. So we've got first conducting, controlling, directing, being the master of your thoughts. Then the next one is being the master of your desire realm. After that is a very complicated one, I have to say, and I'm going to simplify it. I'm actually reading the text that you can find on the Lucis Trust on the labor of Hercules on the internet. Hi, Richard. Nice to see you. So, we're going to come up with one of my favorite paintings that I did. And it's all about gathering the golden apples. Hercules is directed to search for the sacred tree of wisdom and to pick its golden apples. Asking to be shown the quickest way, he is told that the way is long, that 3 maidens cherish the tree and watch over its fruits, and that both tree and maidens are protected by a 100-headed dragon. My God. Hercules is also told that this labor holds 5 great tests, each affording scope for wisdom, understanding, and skill, but that, unless he is vigilant, he may fail to recognize them. It's quite a lot of reading, and I think we'll skip that part. But the interesting thing is that the golden apples echo the one apple in the story of the Garden of Eden, whereas that apple symbolizes separation through the knowledge of good and evil. These apples represent plurality and the synthesis of many nourished by the one tree of life. The journey from Eve's single apple to the many of Hercules is one of understanding through the application of knowledge in the light of wisdom to the problems of life for us all. That is a very powerful journey that he goes on. And 1 second, bear with me. I thought this was in order, but it's not. I've lost. Hang on. Here we go. No, that's Gemini. So a lot of these lessons are not necessarily applicable to say that you were Aries. It wouldn't necessarily mean that that's the only thing that you would do. These are, by the end that you get to the end of these stories, you're a realized human being and working for humanity. So there's always in every one of these things the aspect of you going over the temptations and the limitations of each star sign. I once, I'm still looking for one of my favorite ones. Hang on. Well, seems to have disappeared. I'll just have to tell you about it. Gemini, Taurus, and Aries. And where did she go? Oh, here she is. Yay! So, what I was saying, that I once, in the early days of being cared for by our homeopathic Ayurvedic doctor from India, he used to have me come in the early morning and read a bit about each star sign, because in India they feel very strongly the importance of the star signs with you, and that there is a path. It's not so with the West that I've experienced, because it's generally focusing on all the 3D worldly matter stuff instead of your ascension. So they're not really told very much, but I was fortunate to know them. So what I wanted to say, when I was with my doctor, what they felt was that you may know what sign you are, but actually to be whole, you need to know the wholeness of all the signs so that you're one and complete individual. And as I said earlier, the reading of the stars right now is all about just your personality and all the things you want or don't want, and it doesn't bring in the completeness. So the last one we'll do today is called the Captures of the Doe, and she will appear at some points quite soon. But I'll read the story. Hercules is sent to labor in a field wherein he must decide which voice of all the many voices will arouse the obedience of his heart. At the fourth gate, Hercules stands in silence. He looks across to a far horizon where the temple of the Lord, the shrine of the sun god, can be seen, and on a nearby hill a slender fawn. The silence is broken by the voice of Artemis, goddess of the moon, claiming that the doe was her own, soon countered by that of Diana, the huntress of the heavens, claiming the doe for herself. Later, above their quarreling, comes a commanding voice telling Hercules that the doe belongs to neither but to God alone. It directs him to rescue it and bring it to rest at the holy shrine. As he pursues the elusive dove from place to place, each maid deludes him and tries to foil his efforts. Finally, wounding, sadly, the exhausted fawn, he picks it up and draws it to his heart. He wants to keep it for himself until he is reminded that he is a son of God, who shares the same sacred home. Hercules bears the doe to the shrine where Artemis, still protesting, is not allowed entry, and Diana, allowed a glimpse, but sees it seemingly to lie dead. Not understanding why Hercules, having slain the doe, is allowed to enter, she is told that this is because he bore the animal in his arms close to his heart, and that both doe and man find rest in the same holy place. Hercules returns again to the gate, and looking out, gazes on the exact same scene, the shrine of the sun god on the far horizon, and the slender fawn on a nearby hill alive. Wondering whatever he has passed the test, he is told again and yet again, must all the sons of men who are the sons of God seek the golden antlered fawn and bear it to the holy place again and yet again. So the sign of Cancer is known as the gateway to incarnation and represents the mass or instinctual consciousness. The myth is reference to returning again and yet again, alludes to the process of reincarnation. When instinct and intellect have done their work, they can be superseded by a group consciousness or intuition. The sign is ruled both by the moon, giving that mass identification with form, and spirituality by Neptune, giving great sensitivity initially to the emotions and later to ideas. So, what do you think? And that's only the beginning. That's 4 of them. And I have found personally, it's so interesting to see these qualities as you go along your journey. So when a challenge comes, you can sort of go, that's what I have to learn to do. That's what I have to let go of. So it's I find it very inspirational. And as I said, if you want to read the rest of them, then you can go on to Lucis Trust in the Track of Hercules, and there's a whole sections where you can learn more about the star signs and your path to knowing who you are. And I have found it very helpful. Well, Donna, we can talk about it some more another time. It is very interesting, but to realize, to come into yourself and your Hercules. Yeah. Jenny said, I find it interesting when people are very like their star sign. Sometimes you can tell even before you know which one they are for definite. Not exactly what you were talking about, but interesting. Andy. It's it's a matter of becoming aware that you have a soul journey, and that everything here is an opportunity to touch that journey within you, as opposed to being locked in matter and desire and confusion and fear. I certainly get through what fear is on this planet right now only by coming from the reality of the highest that we are into matter. I've always done that for quite some time. That's what my art symbolizes, to open that doorway that you realize that there's something more than what's on the news that will transcend any of that. But you have to touch that reality, and what Hercules' path is about is the things that you might be going through in order to transcend. Oh, Bruno. Well, thank you for being here, even if you don't understand English. And I really appreciate that. My new book is going to be out soon, but it's not in French yet. But it's called Behind the Wall. And the one I'm working on right now is called Becoming Tony. And Tony was with Badfinger a long time ago. And the whole thing of sharing his adventures from his dad, who apparently was a horn player and was very good friends with Victor Mature, Frank Sinatra, Tony Weissmuller, Tarzan, and the Dorseys. Just he was a high tenor as well. And there's some really fun stories at the beginning when I'm talking about his life beginning with a child. And he was just surrounded by song. What's interesting is that I've discovered there's another way of writing songs that I didn't realize. It's a whole nother world. And because the Floyd would go in, things would happen, but not quite like what Tony does. And he was part of something in Nashville that Warner Brothers used to have, this really huge building, lots of floors. They had a large floor that was just for the songwriters. I'm calling them song creators. And Tony does this every morning and maybe in the afternoon. It's just something he hears and bang, a whole song will come out. It's just remarkable. And that's what he was raised in, an environment that supported that. And there's a whole business all about songwriters, but I'm calling song creators. It's quite remarkable. So he goes into this place very similar to where I go into to have a form appear. And he does it for bringing in words and harmonies and rhythm. It's quite something. And then, of course, he had a book out, but it was very basic. We went here and we went there, and this is the guitar and this is the person we recorded with. And we have been talking for many, many, many months. And I said, Tony, this is doesn't do you credit. So because he saw my memoirs of The Bright Side of the Moon, and he said, my goodness, I love your writing. Will you rewrite mine? So every day I'm nudging him to tell me more stories, and some of the stories are incredible, really, within the rock and roll world, and then his coming out of it, because he's going to have a tour with some of his favorite musicians, like Johnny Barbada from Jefferson Airplane, and what's his name? Bill. Oh, I've forgotten his name, from Fleetwood Mac. Oh my goodness, how could I do that? Mike Skill from the Romantics. He and some other people are going to do Badfinger. Some of those songs are incredible. And And then he's going to do something called East Song Global Rock television competition, but all about songwriters. And it's going to unite the whole planet. Different countries will have their own songwriting competition done live, so you can see it the way that Tony does it. And it'll be recorded, and then there'll be a competition. So he's got a lot to do and focus on. And then we're going to do a concert for peace in December. So it can raise money to have a peace center that a very dear friend of mine called Julia Hauserman is got all the ideas of how to do that and teach us all how to be peaceful people. So, does anyone want to have a healing this week? I'm going to write it down. Put your name forward. He has amazing stories to tell. Because, I don't know if you know, but Badfinger were really close to the Beatles. They were almost called the second Beatles. It's incredible listening to their music, which I don't know where I was at the time they were doing it. There are a few songs I know and love, but they sound like Paul. They sound like John. Great lyrics. There's one song called Perfection. So beautiful. So look it up. Perfection by Badfinger. Hi, Drew. Welcome. Comprende tele juice. Good, Anne-Marie. Are you talking to Bruno? Thank you for helping. Well, Denise, it's really interesting. They have some songs I think you would know very well. Hang on a minute. Where are my notes? I'm learning too. Just a minute. It's got to show up easy on these notes. I've been taking notes of our discussions. So there was two of the main songwriters was Tom Evans and Pete Ham, both of whom committed suicide, sadly, in their history. It's really... So some of it will be in the book, because with the collapse of Apple and because of the Beatles broke up, everyone that was still with Apple went through a difficult period. And after, it's so moving, and their songs are so heartful. Why can I not remember this? Oh well. Look it up. Look up Badfinger and Tom Evans and Peter Ham, Beatles, and read the book when I'm finished. There's a lot of adventures. Oh my goodness. Tony has a brother called John. So he was in Las Vegas, and Tony was with his family, still quite young, and he got picked up for drunken disorderly and possession of marijuana. And so the cops take him in and cuff him and put him in a jail cell, and he's going, can I make a call? I need to get Tarzan to come get me out of here. So they think he's really crazy. Sure, man. And they look at each other and say, listen, he's really off his head, let's go. But you can call whoever you need to call. So he calls his dad, who's up in Detroit, and he's in Las Vegas. But of course, Johnny Weissmuller, Tarzan, lives there, and his best friends. So his dad calls him up, and lo and behold, next thing you know, Tarzan comes into the police station and saying, I need to get my friend's son out of the cell. And the guys are like, what? This is incredible. And when they let him out, they did ask Johnny Weissmuller for an autograph, I have to say. So, yeah. But there's so many more wonderful stories and tragic stories of the life of rock and roll songwriters on the road. And then there's really amazing ones that ends with the great vision of helping the world. So it's really cool. Anyway, does anyone want a specific healing, or shall we just do a meditation? Thanks, Annie. Yeah, there's some incredible stories. Oh, God. I'll tell you one more. When Badfinger, they split up and had this problem after Apple Records dissolved. And what was it? Tony had been working with a man called Joe Mullen, who knew loved the Badfingers group and everything, and he told the records that Tony was recording, he shared with Tom Evans and Pete Ham back in the UK. So their drummer, Mick Gibbons, calls him up and says, can I come over and join your group, which was called Straight Up. Great, Denise and Timothy. We'll do that. So anyway, they come and stay with Tony, and they get on really well with the dad, and it's all music and writing, and Badfinger reforms, and they go out on the road. And there was one place they were at, White Plains, and they got there late. They did their sound check, went back into the tour bus to have a rest when a knock came on the door. And they opened the door, and it was this burly Godfather Italian-looking man, very short and big, really angry, going, what's going on here? Someone has called us and said that you're a fake Badfinger. Well, Tony had been to have some photographs and stuff, and shows it to him, and he says, listen, and then he shouts to the guys to come out. This is the real Badfinger. These are the original members, and here's their photograph. But by that time, they were surrounded by all these other burly guys waiting to drag them. He says, you're going to jail for being a fake. And hi, Fabrizio. So, next thing you know, 10 New York State cops come in, lights flashing, sirens blaring and everything. The guy comes walking up and says, what's going on here? And by that point, Bruno, who happens to have been the owner, he says, it's all right, it's all settled now, it's fine. When the cop looks up and goes, oh my God, that's the Badfinger guys. And it was like, but boy, were they scared for a while. They thought that they had reached the movie Godfather. It was really incredible. They lived to tell the story, and they did a really good gig, apparently. So, well, that's great, Fabrizio. So let's begin a group healing, and we'll also go into focusing on our Denise. So I will put up the meditation. It's my favorite colors, I have to say. It holds a lot of heart quality. Okay. Wherever you're sitting or lying, please be relaxed. Pay attention to your breathing. Allow it to be calm and soothing. And take the colors within through your breath. Breathing in the golden light. Take the light throughout your body. Breathing in, hold it and relax. Breathing in, hold it and relax. One more time. Breathe in the gold and the soft peach within your body, touching the top of your head, going down through your body, out the bottom of your feet into the earth. So breathing in, fill your body with this color and relax. Be still. Breathe in and relax. Breathe in and relax. Imagine that Denise is lying on a healing bed within a circle of our intention. And place around all of us a bubble with amethyst within and sapphire blue. So let's imagine a tiny light above her head, forming a line going down the center of her body, below her feet, and back up across her arms, out each hands, back to the center, and back up to the top of her head. Now I'd like to take this little light and zigzag backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards down the entire body. Backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. And imagine that it's creating a light that's going around the entire body as you go back up her body, creating like a cocoon of light, round and round, round and round, round and round, until you get back to the top of her body. Now let's make a circle of light going all the way around, outside of her hands, outside of her feet, outside of her other hands, and to the top of her head. And within that circle, fill it with spring green and focus on her ovaries, and that her part of her pelvis there. And let's take the ovaries out and put it in a bowl of crystal light water and bathe her ovaries and release the tension, any blockages and restore them to when they were very well. Now move them to a sapphire blue crystal water and bathe them, projecting love through your hands and strength and tranquility. Now let's take the organs and place them back to her pelvis and surround that whole area, front and back, up and down, with a new bubble of green and sapphire blue. And Denise, repeat after us. Dear soul, heart, mind, and body of my being, I love you. You have the power to heal all blockages. Do a really good job. Thank you. And then call upon the soul of the greatest healing love, the soul of the divine light, the souls of the true spiritual mothers and fathers, the guides, the protectors, the healers, the angels, the masters of wisdom, to come together. I love you, we love you, we are grateful, we are humble. Please help us heal and restore Denise's body, emotions, and mind, and all of the group participating in this healing today. I am grateful. You are grateful. We all are grateful. With love, healing, and peace, and harmony. So let us all imagine we're in a circle of light, and a golden light comes from the heavens, a golden waterfall covering Denise, filling us up with such great light and love and peace and harmony. And be still and allow the golden light, the golden stream, to clear all blockages, and restore you with great energy and peace. Be still. And allow us all to form a vortex of golden light within the middle of our circle, and send it out into your communities, into your families, to your country, to the world. And surround the world with this golden light of love and peace and harmony. And touch all the animals with this feeling, with this light. And all the plants and the trees and the birds and the sky and Mother Earth. Fill it with golden love and peace and harmony, restoring balance. And slowly return to your own country, to your neighborhood, to wherever you live. And fill your heart with this golden light. And in your own time, when you're ready, open your eyes and return to the stream. So come back to your body now. And just wiggle your feet. You're most welcome. I find it lovely to start the evening after one of these. I really missed you guys. I was really tired. I didn't think I could do service. Feeling so tired. I knew you'd understand. I know. They're just magic, because now that it's still a bit light, that the day is becoming the night, so they do their evening chorus. And it's I've been feeding them a little bit as well. But I am much better, thank you very much. So it's nearly time to go. If there's anything you want to ask me, excuse me. If anyone saw Matthew's live stream the other day, how he did Wicked, the song Wicked was just really special. Really special. It probably is up on YouTube so that you can see the replay. Oh, thank you, Drew. I'm considering it, Denise, yeah. It went really well last year, I have to say, and you were part of it. It's well, I will put the replay up tomorrow, all being well, and you can listen to it again and again. Actually, Julie, no, I never did. I don't know what happened there. Hi, Richard. Nothing's happening in regards to what we're talking about, but you never know. Writing this book is really special. I have to say, maybe I have a new career. Maybe all the rock and rollers are going to ask me to do their book. Thank you, Verby. We'll see, Jenny. There's a lot in, what is it called? There's a lot of things in the planning area about. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marianne and Tim. And Donald. And we'll talk. And Denise, keep me posted of everything. So, until we meet again. You're welcome, Stefan. Thank you for coming. Night, Bruno. Bonsoir.